Check podcasts.
The Bread and Butter Collective is a collection of hospitality professionals working together to help strengthen our industry to build strong culture, community, and sustainability.
I'm Calen McNiel.
And I'm Sam Jones. And this is the Bread and Butter Podcast.
Welcome to the Bread and Butter Podcast. How are you, Sam?
I'm actually really great. Thanks for asking.
Oh,
Calen.
my
I hope
goodness.
you're doing good too.
Yeah, I'm doing okay.
Yeah. It's a wild life, isn't it?
There's so interesting.
And there's so much that we just can't do anything about. We just gotta, continue on with life because it is good.
Yeah.
And what a beautiful day it is today.
It is a beautiful
it's
day.
Wednesday. It's hump day, halfway through the week already. And it feels like this
it
week
just
has gone
catches
by
up to me so quickly. Like even when we're, organizing guests, we don't have a guest on today, but organizing guests and, planning, thinking about the podcast. And the beauty of what we do is it's just really a conversation.
Yeah.
Because there isn't a lot of planning that goes into it, but I mean, hate to burst the bubble of everybody.
Lift the curtain.
Lift the curtain. One of the things I was curious about what's going on with you, with your business is you've been in the media a bit recently.
Yeah, a little splash.
Yeah, a little bit of a splash. And you've kind of pivoted a little. I mean, we talk about pivot all through the COVID and all that kind of stuff, but a lot of the things that you're having to deal with now, ramifications of COVID and just where we are with government and stuff. So talk to me about where you were with what's going on with your store. Cause you closed one of your locations, right?
I did. I had a coffee shop at the Royal B.C. Museum for near 10 years, not quite 10 years. And
that's a long time.
It was a long time. Yeah. I was invested in it, both emotionally and financially. And, it was a great gig for a long time. And it was a beautiful room, beautiful little bar, nice cafe. It was a small piece of me there for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't spend a lot of time there. So my emotional attachment to the physical space, it wasn't as much as it was just that's another one of my businesses that I'm emotionally invested in. It's my name, it's my brand, it's a lot, right? Yeah. So when COVID happened, the museum obviously was in compliance and did their lockdown, and because the museum is such a hot spot for tourism and people coming there, and it's a real destination in Victoria, and to be part of that destination, being a business inside a box that's your destination, has real pros to it. When they're busy,
captive audience,
like you've got them all when they're coming.
Yeah.
But when they're not coming, it's like a big empty box that you're trying to scrape together a couple bucks from.
When you can't do anything about it because you're not in charge of the doors being open or closed.
Exactly. Right? So it as much as it had a lot to offer, it had real constraints as well.
Yeah.
Which for the most part, for most of the years was fine. Like I said, COVID came and that really changed things for everyone.
Yeah.
And I really felt it at the museum more than I felt it elsewhere. And I don't know, we did all kinds of things to maintain our position there. Like I would bring down lunches for the few remaining staff that were there a couple times a week. And I would have a donation jar just on the counter, help yourself to cold drinks. And I'd fill the pastry case with cookies and muffins for
kind of an honor system.
Yeah, for the security staff that had to be there, the management that had to be there. And so we did that for a while. And obviously that's not a business.
No.
That's just maintaining my position in the business. And as the COVID lockdowns were released and we were able to go out again, thank goodness.
Yeah.
May there never be a lockdown again. Not for this puppy anyway. No one can lock me down.
No,
anymore.
that's it. One
that's
and
it.
done.
One and
Been
done.
to prison
baby.
once, we ain't going back.
Yeah. Just make me. Anyway, that's not what I wanted to say. So the the potential of the museum coming back was really there. And so I was really excited and keen. And then in John Horgan's wisdom, rest in peace, John, but good guy, but he decided it was time to take down the building and rebuild the museum.
The timing of it was just horrible.
No one had any money. The government didn't have any money, and they were talking about spending billions of dollars for the museum, and it got such pushback that he had to flip flop on that and change his mind. And we're keeping the museum now. It wasn't that.
But as a business, you're literally like, okay, and at that time, I think it was still closed, and that's probably why he used it as an opportunity to try to launch this crazy $200 million retrofit or rebuild.
I think it was in the billions.
Or billions or $1 billion. How was it?
It was an insane amount of money. Anyway, that's just what it was. But when you start to stack things up,
you're getting some signals.
You're getting some signals, and the people in Victoria just weren't coming back. They made some significant changes to the displays and how they presented the story that they were going to tell. And as much as that benefited a lot of people, it also dissuaded, I think, quite a few people from going back. It just didn't feel.
It wasn't a draw. It wasn't a.
No, it was a change. And I'm not here to say that change didn't need to be made. That's not what I'm saying. But
you're not being critical of the content.
Yeah, and it's just one more layer against people coming in, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, people started finally to come back in the last year or so. It felt like we were getting back but we were getting back to a place where I could look to getting normal again.
Right.
It was still nothing like pre-COVID times. Those were boom times at the museum.
Yeah.
Then it was like maybe a fifth of what it was, and that was us growing back.
Yeah.
It was a fifth of what it used to be.
That's crazy.
Which is not enough.
Yeah.
But I had hope. I was invested, like I was saying before, both mentally, physically, and financially. And I was willing to keep going.
Yeah.
Right. Even though I may have been losing a bit of money there on a month-to-month basis, it was still cash flow. And still kept
supporting the organization and the team.
Exactly. They were carrying coffee and food that all came from our central location.
Yeah.
So it kept
people
moving,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Which has its benefits, but not maybe at the cost of losing money.
Yeah.
Cash flow, as much as everyone says it's king, doesn't really mean as much if you're actually losing money. You just see
if the sink is dropping in water.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how much water is in there. It's going to be empty soon enough.
Eventually it will be, unless it turns.
Yeah. So we got through the tourist season, and it was not
horrible.
It wasn't horrible.
But
was certainly not what I was expecting for a tourist season.
Yeah.
Not during the days. I think they got busier at nights at the IMAX with tourists that came in on the evening cruise ships and stuff. But really, my business didn't benefit from any of that.
Yeah.
And then we have the strike.
Yeah.
And so now,
was that the nail in the coffin, so to speak? As far as
it really was. Yeah. I mean,
so they are part. Are they a part of the BCGEU?
They are
the government union.
The employees of the museum are
so they work for the province.
They do. Yeah. And my understanding was back in July, well before the public knew there was a strike coming, they had really determined that the museum, for when the strike was going to happen, was going to be a focal point of their protests.
Yeah.
Which I've got real ethical problems with that. Not even for my business. I'd say that a taxpayer-funded cultural entity should not be picketed by people who are getting paid by the government and the taxpayers.
Wow, it's such an interesting point.
When the Parliament building is right next door, where the bosses really are.
Yeah, that's picket. Yeah, that's an interesting point, because ultimately this is a community amenity. Like when you look at what citizens get from their government. So having a BC museum and I mean, we can go back and, appropriation of culture and theft, and museums are if we remove that point, it truly is an opportunity for people to get to know more about themselves and about where they're from or where they live, I guess.
Yeah.
And to put that in a political box when it is one of the primary community amenities that a government can provide. You know, it's like a city providing a splash park or green space or making businesses or builders build out parks and things like that. Like, you don't want to live in a community where it's just like boxes. And you also don't want to live in a community where you can't access the one amenity that is provided by the government. You know,
Right.
like it's part of the taxpayer dollars. It's an extracurricular activity for your family. And why, just like in COVID, when you had essential workers, those are the things that they should just maintain open. And the union should see that. The union should not be using that as a weapon.
And it was on purpose because it's a very public spot. It's right on the corner of everything downtown. And
and it's a way you can make an impact on the public.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know, like either build. And I support any action that a group of people want to take to better themselves. Like I do. Like I am for sure 100% on the side of any collective bargaining and all that kind of stuff. And to me, especially when teachers and nurses, you know, like government employees probably have less sympathy from the community, I guess, in a way. But
maybe.
I think, you know, it's really easy to make it's not really easy to make decisions in government, but it's really easy to start picking sides when it impacts your life. You can't go to the liquor store. Like we're in the restaurant business or I'm in like I sell beer and wine and alcohol in all my places, but primarily in Zambries, and we can't get wine from the BC liquor store. It's like, that's really affecting my business. But in light of that, I still support, you know, the collective bargaining process and, you know, all that kind of stuff.
I would if they were talking, I guess. And I'm not saying I would like to see there be
it's interesting from your perspective because you're literally, it's one thing if my business was actually being closed versus impeded to do business. Like there's a big difference. Like your business is closed.
Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah.
I've been out for over a week now. And I really want to make it clear that I support the government workers in their ability to want something and fight for it.
Mm-hmm.
I have no problem with that whatsoever. How it's happening and maybe the amount that's being asked for in this economic environment that we're living in right now may come across as being tone deaf to a lot of people. And I agree that, you know, if they want to make more money, this is how they have to do it. They have to strike because the government's not just going to give them more money right now. It's not prudent maybe, but also they probably deserve it. And, you know,
I mean, for sure.
I've got absolutely nothing against any government employee. I think I wish them all well. I send them my love. I'm having a hard time honking my horn right now at them.
Well, but I mean, you're being directly, it's like they're striking your location.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that feels different.
And I had lots of conversations with the picketers at the museum, and they didn't want to be picketing my spot necessarily. They wanted to picket the museum.
Yeah.
And there's inviting
you do a counter protest,
right? Save my store.
Save my store.
But maybe not at the expense of a collective agreement that benefits 25,000 people or however
many 50,000 or however many there is.
I mean, I don't want to. I would never want to get in the way of that. However, they're asking for 8.25% over 2 years. Well, you know what the real issue is? I think is that they're frustrated that the management level of the government is so overborne and so top heavy.
Yeah,
they're making way more money than the employees are, and there's like 3 managers for every department. It feels like, and so they're not being heard. Like the government workers aren't being heard on that. Like, I don't hear about that on the news, but I hear about it when I'm talking to them individually.
Yeah.
So, I mean, why can't the government just offer them 6% over 2 years and say, we're going to have an investigation into efficiencies in management across the board, and we're going to make that a priority? Well, that would make the members pretty happy, I would hope.
Yeah.
But then what I want them all to come back to work downtown.
Yeah.
Well, and fill up those offices that we're all still paying for.
Yeah, that's the other rub, because the downtown hasn't rebounded.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of it has to do with work from home and lifestyle. I mean, it's a societal shift. And I think with technology and all this kind of stuff, I'm torn with how I feel about it, because I work from home too, and I have an ability to do that. And just like when you talk about the government bureaucracy and how inefficient those things are, there's a lot of inefficiencies in business as well, especially the bigger business. And so I think that gripe is universal. So if you own like Ford, for example, which there's a union with at Ford, and then you're like, okay, well, the CEO is making 100x the average worker. Well, back in 1980, it was, or 75, it was like 10x.
Yeah.
So there's a vacuum cleaner that vacuums up the money, and that vacuum cleaner is basically institutionalized. So this isn't like, these things happen over time, and I guess it is one of the flaws of capitalism and all those things, and also lobbyists and all these special interests and all that kind of stuff. They're geared to protect themselves.
Yeah.
And even if you ask them individually, like, do you agree with this? Do you think it's right that you're making 100x with the average person's rate? And they'd be like, well, I work hard, but it's a competitive market and we can't attract talent if we don't get. So it's just this ending loop of like, oh, okay, so the system is what's creating the problem, but none of us have the courage to change the system. And so until the system collapses on itself. And I think that's sort of where we are as a society in this day and age. And that's where you see this polarization, this populist movement, this idea that, you need kings to sort out what's happening, and strong men. And none of that works, because none of it's really just, again, reconfiguring the top. And you're actually, the vacuum cleaner is even more super powered.
Yeah, it's got a narrower opening.
Yeah. And then now they're all working together, because the one thing that government does is, the idea of government, it is to organize society, but it is designed to protect everybody equally.
By the people, for
the people. Where it is like, okay, so who is benefiting from how our current structures are organized? Like, it's not you or me.
No, it's big corporate interest.
It's big corporate interest. It's the lobbyists. It's that hidden sort of vacuum cleaner above us all. And when you do not have an alignment between the people, like the people that are working, like the best way for me to sort of think about it in my brain is, you've got all of the ants, and then, you've got the people that are in charge of the ants, and the people that are in charge of the ants, which is pretty much everybody, because, majority of the money is in the top, 1 or 2 or 3% of the population. Like over half of the money sits in the top, where the other half is split from the other 95% of the people. Right. But that gap is growing. So, when we were the best, we had very good, everybody can still function well. Like, to have billionaires and trillionaires. And the thing I find funny, because I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and he's well-to-do. Like, we're all well-to-do. Like, we all have enough, it's not like we're rich in the Instagram rich. You know what I mean? Like, this best way to put it is like, we're all successful, but here we are in a position where we're like, and he was defending, I think the rich pay enough taxes. Like if you look at the gross dollar amount compared to an average, it's like, dude, it's not about the dollar amount. It's about a percentage of their total income and capital.
Yeah.
And then how they sort themselves out, because there's all these loopholes, you know, and they're defending the loophole. Well, it's just, well, and as a rich person, well, I get these loopholes. And even for me in business, you know, like I'm like, okay, well, I do get these tax concessions or whatever, and it is what it is. So, you know, if I was working as a doctor, for example, my nominal tax rate might be 50%, but because I work for myself and I've got my own corporation, and, you know, maybe my tax rate is 30% at the end of the day. So, and, you know, the idea of this trickle down, okay, well, because I save that tax money, I'm going to invest in more business and maybe create more jobs, which then blah, blah, blah. But that whole thing, when your worker is paying 30 or 40% of their total income to tax, how are they saving? How are they growing? How are they getting independent? How are they doing any of that stuff? And then if they're financially fragile, how are they supporting your business? And how are they supporting the greater good?
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I don't think it's fair that if my tax rate, if I'm, say I made $1 million and I'm only paying $100,000 in taxes. So this other person's making, you know, $100,000 and paying $50,000, or maybe they're making $200,000, but they pay $100,000 in taxes or $80,000 in taxes.
Yeah.
One person making $200,000 is paying the same as I'm paying, but I'm making $1 million. So then what do I do with my money? I invest it offshore. I save it.
You
right?
hide it from
I hide
the tax
it.
person.
So then I just borrow the money from myself to pay my daily bill. So I lower my tax rate again.
Yeah.
And if you're allowed to use your assets as leverage to borrow money to pay for your expenses, that should be taxable, because
it's income.
It's income.
Still.
Yeah.
Well, income
this is
from the back door.
Yeah.
Backdoor income.
Yeah. And the stock buyback aspect of it, like, they're really literally enriching themselves with untold profits. And then they're crying poverty, where they get to lay people off when there's a downturn, and they bank billions of dollars. That's a vacuum cleaner that never comes back. Like, that money does not come back. So, you know, one of the things with government is that they can control like what happens. They control investigations, they control the tax policy, they control this. So they have the power to stop these corporations from being trillion-dollar companies.
And by not taking the control, they're condoning it.
Well, they do. And then you get this oligarchy, right? And, you know, and then oligarchies, they're designed to protect itself. Then it starts taking over the government.
Well, they're more influential.
Way more influential. Well, right? and basically the government is being incentivized. The people, the leaders who lack ethic are being basically rewarded, and that again just protects their whole.
Which is insane, because they're, as much influence as they have, they're not paying for it. Really,
no, well, and this is the thing, is like they're controlling
privately, but not through taxation.
Well, the problem with it is you've got people, like when you own your own business, like for us, like when we pay out money, that comes out of our pocket.
Yeah.
So, you know, when the health tax system changed in BC, and, you know, the bigger employers had to pay the health tax of everybody else, that literally came out of our pocket, because that was a tax we didn't have before, that now we have a tax. The government controls that. So that's out of my physical pocket, which, you know, you can argue whether it's good or bad or whatever, but some bureaucrat like Horgan, or who implemented it, just pulled it out of thin air, right? Because it was never on the radar. Nobody was complaining, you know, having, you know, individual tax. So he made a decision. This isn't his money either.
No.
Right. So he, like, when you have that kind of control and power, which then dictates what comes out of our pockets, it's a problem when there isn't balance and fairness. So
sure.
That's the issue, is, you know, there's different degrees of issues. Like when you have in the US, when their federal minimum wage is $7.25 and has been for, you know, 30 years. And yet, you know, the gap in the CEO pay to the average worker pay is now like 1,000 times in some cases. And you have these $1 trillion companies At what point do you right the ship? Like, what company needs $1 trillion? What person needs 100, 200, 300 billion?
No one.
And
like, what could you possibly do with that money?
You can't. And then they'd be like, oh, well, they've worked hard. No, they've benefited from tax system that is basically all of everybody's money.
And most of them probably got lucky and got breaks to got them going.
Like, you can't be a billionaire unless you sell something. Like, and this idea that, these some real estate people have made money over time, and it's very slow way to build wealth. But if you sell something, if you're selling an iPhone or a car, like even a car is probably a bad example, but a product that people want, a service that people want in masses. And you look at Amazon, and again, Amazon is sucking it all up. Plus they're buying businesses. And also once a business is successful on Amazon, they're just recreating that product and putting that person out of business.
How is what else they own, which we all found out more about, is they own most of the internet.
Exactly. And so when they go down, everybody goes down. And that's where the centralization of wealth and capital doesn't serve our purposes in general. And when you're a human being, like, humanity is the priority. Like, what do we need? Like the Maslow hierarchy of needs, right? Like, we need healthcare, we need a roof over our head, we need food. That is what this is like. What else are we here for? We're not here to elevate and make certain people and certain classes of people like gazillionaires, where they can then go, oh, look at me, I'm building a freaking ballroom, or I'm buying 150 million. Because what are they gonna do with their money? Right. That's what they're gonna do. They're gonna just invest in this stupid crap.
They're gonna waste it.
Yeah. And then they're gonna sit on a pile of it, and then they're gonna just decide who gets it, and they're gonna just pass it on to someone else who's just gonna spend it. Like, it's pretty horrible. Yeah. But again, it speaks to the point of these groups of people that control other people's money, right? And they're really not accountable, and it really doesn't matter, because they're like, oh, like, these guys can just stroke checks. Like, you look at healthcare, and you go, okay, well, we've got a hospital in Victoria that was built in 1985, the Vic General, and you've got another hospital that was built, I don't know, in probably the early 1885. And you've got a population that's grown or doubled in that period of time, but they're still, those are just thought, and they're like, well, we're not, we can't afford this, we can't afford this, we can't afford to pay you, we can't afford this. And meanwhile, it's like, well, what is the outcome long term of investing in healthcare?
It makes us all more wealthy.
Yeah, it makes us even more wealthy. Yeah. But we're like, we don't have money, and this whole thing, we don't have money, or who's going to pay for it? Because that's what people counter. Well, why don't we provide free lunches for kids? Who's going to pay for that? It pays for itself over time, because now, instead of people not getting educated because they don't have enough energy to get through the day, or they don't have enough nutritious food, then they're not going to have those outcomes. They're not going to do well at school. They're not going to become the doctors and the lawyers and the construction workers and, all of these different things, because they're playing video games, because that's all they can do.
That's all their brain can handle, because they're malnourished.
Yeah. And then they have different social outcomes that are bad. And, investing in people, investing in healthcare, like that is what's called an investment. And the society benefits over time, and societies that don't invest in that go down. And the height of privilege is when you are now all of a sudden not investing in it, because you're like, oh, they don't deserve that. They need to work harder. It's like, what do you think? How do you think you got there?
That sounds really judgy, doesn't it? It's like people that it's too much judgment in the world. We need to just be good with everyone. Well,
and again, it's also having conversation. I watched this documentary where this British reporter went into the South and interviewed white supremacists. Oh. And a lot of these white supremacists have never met a person that they hate. They've never met a brown or black person, or a Muslim or whatever. And so she is a Indian Muslim that is from England, but she is going there. Here I am, and here's what you've said about people like me, and what are your thoughts now after we've discussed and talked? And And I think 2 or 3 of the participants in the documentary basically from that rejected their ideology.
Wow.
And whether, they've changed fully or not, but they basically they became friends. And she says that we were friends and that they've stopped their activities in the white supremacist movement because they never ever met anybody there until they met somebody and had a conversation and realized that they're humans. Their prejudice and their biases are never challenged.
Yeah, it's like a boogeyman in a book.
Yeah.
Like you've never met that boogeyman.
Yeah.
So it must be scary.
Well, and when you talk about like deporting people or imprisoning people, or you're starting to demonize people without even knowing them, like, and talking to them.
Or even checking for their ID. How do you get to know someone if you just put a bag over their heads and throw them in the back of a van?
And you're wearing
right?
a mask where they don't even see you.
It's like, no one's getting to know each other that way.
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, it's a strange time, and I always go back to the history thing too. Like, history always repeats itself.
Yeah.
So if you want to know where this goes, it's really easy to tell where it goes because this has already happened, almost like to the letter. Right.
I think we're in the worst part right now. I don't think it's going to
it's going to get worse. Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah. No, I think it will, but this is like priming us. Like, we're already on edge.
Yeah.
Happening for several years now. We're already kind of full of angst.
Yeah.
And yeah, if it does get worse, some people are going to go over the edge, and it won't be good for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Who are already at their maximum stress levels.
Yeah.
Like, whatever is coming is going to really hurt them. I think anyone with a bit more capacity is going to be able to get through it and then find a better place at the end of it.
Well, and that's what happened in any major strife throughout history. That's what ends up happening is there's people that, buckle and crumble under it. And there's people that have the resilience or the opportunity or the luck to navigate it in a way that, or they've just completely turned their blind eye. And, democracies end, in silence. Like, it isn't like, oh yeah, let's take all your rights. It's like death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
And this is, when we get back to the situation with your coffee shop and that whole bargaining process, and I mean, it really mimics where we are as a society, because you've got a bunch of people that are totally fine. The people at the top don't have to worry about much, and they're controlling the outcomes of the people that are actually responsible for actually doing the work. And, where do you build that fairness in there? And again, prioritizing what is important as a society, and then just hanging on to that. And you may not like what the media says or the whatever, but the media's and free press and that is so important, because as soon as you stop being free to express your opinion or being able to do an investigation where the facts can be exposed or the bad actors can be called out, you're done, because everything happens behind the scenes and you may not even know it until all of a sudden there's somebody knocking on your door asking you for ID, or you've made a post about something, and literally whether you agree with it or not, everybody has a right. Well, if you want to live in a free society, everybody has a right.
Well, it's like what's happening in England right now. Like, over 12,000 people are being arrested for their social media posts.
Yeah,
12,000 people like getting knocked on the door and being arrested. What?
Yeah. Well, that's
unbelievable for a country like England, which you think of as free and you have the right to speak your mind, and
no,
evidently not.
Yeah.
And I'd hate to see that cross the pond.
Well, it's already here. What are you talking about? And I'm not.
I don't know anyone who's been
not in Canada, but in the United States.
Yeah.
So
I guess crossing the border, you have to be careful of your phone content.
Yeah, 100%
stuff.
Well, and you see, political persecutions and things like whatever side you're on,
right?
It's not right when you are persecuting people for a different belief system, or you've demonized them. So when they talk about Antifa, which is anti-fascism, like I think if everybody knew what fascism was, you would agree that's not how you build a free participatory society. Is with fascism, you don't. So if you're an anti-fascist, that's probably a good thing. All of our grandparents were anti-fascist, like our entirety of the battle of World War II, which is the history component, was anti-fascism. And now people are being called Antifa as if it's not anti-fascist.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's just, this isn't like a bunch of words. Like it's, it's same thing with anti-Semitic comments or prejudices, and you just pool things in one big bucket and demonize it. As soon as you do that, then all of a sudden you can target anybody because you just call them Antifa.
Yeah,
like if
it's real easy when you have a name to call someone.
And there's like, oh, we're going to arrest everybody. And when you demonize another political party that is represented by, in the States, 70%, and ultimately people are progressive and they want, like, truly humanity is not evil and dark. There's aspects that we can be convinced to be evil and dark, but we want our neighbors to do well. We want our friends to do well. And we actually have conversations and we touch each other.
Right.
Like we're gonna be talking way differently than if we're keyboard warriors. And then all of a sudden now, because of the keyboard warrior thing, we're being put into a pile and without due process and all that kind of stuff. Like if it comes to the day where you do have that knock on the door and you have an opportunity to defend yourself in court or whatever, fair play, but let's have it balanced and not be like, okay, these people are the enemy and we're going to treat them like the enemy. And it doesn't matter, because if people are doing that, they're doing it for a different reason, because you should be able to articulate and present your case and be treated fairly. And that's all that anybody would want. But the powers that be are not wanting that. So they're trying to break it. And
just for what? For more money, more power, more control.
Well, I think part of it is, because of technology, everything gets affected by technology, and so does criminality. So if you have bad actors that are able to operate in the dark, all of a sudden governments now have the ability to find and track it, like the money. So now all of a sudden you can't. So if you can't do your criminal business, how do you be a shyster? Well, partner with the government and get government contracts and, bribe people. And all of a sudden now the criminality enterprise is in, and that's what happened in Russia, right? Yeah. The oligarchs, and they just took control. Like, there's only so many people you can kidnap or blackmail or steal from or sex traffic or whatever, but unlimited resources when you're in the government, because now you can take taxpayer money and with zero accountability. And this is where we're at.
You can fund all your friends' projects.
Yeah, and enrich your buddies and just keep the loop going. And
that would never happen with a construction company out of Quebec, would it?
Or a engineering company.
It would never happen.
No, you can't even imagine.
No, it wouldn't happen in Canada. And you're saying they can take your money now. It's like, well, Canada showed that they can go into your bank account and just take it and penalize you for whatever they want. Whether they're right or wrong.
No, for sure.
Get your hands out of my bank account.
Yeah. Well, and that's where, getting back to the original topic of, your cafe and the lack of control. And I think in business, and this is what makes doing business in this environment difficult, because you are flying blind in a lot of ways. And you are flying especially blind because you can't control how long this strike's going to last, and you're not even in control of the outcome once it's over.
Yeah, it's not even a long strike. This is the longest strike.
Yeah,
it's and growing, and there's really no end in sight.
Yeah,
there's some kind of arbitration about to happen, but.
Well, they'll eventually order them back to work and blah, blah. This is kind of how it goes. But when you're running a free enterprise that's controlled by that, so you made a decision to shut it down.
I did. Yeah. So it was the only proper decision that anyone could have made. I mean, not to make that sound like it was an easy decision. It certainly wasn't easy to come to that decision. But once the decision was made, it was really easy.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking to make the decision.
Yeah.
But as soon as it's made, just things work out the way they do.
Yeah.
And I'm in a pretty comfortable place right now in my mind and my heart. Like I feel good about it. I have real great plans for my only existing cafe now. And it's going to be great. I can't wait to get more. Like, it's inspiring me to do more with less and really, like, I know we've talked about what profit is in different ways quite a few times, and profit can be money, and it can be lifestyle, and it can be just being comfortable. We've also talked about the entrepreneurial culture of growth before, and how to be successful, you must be going on this kind of trajectory. You need to be going up all the time. It's like, well, this closure for me was really telling, and it really opened not only my eyes and my brain, but it opened my heart to just being okay with what's going on and making the best of it, for sure. Which, I mean, I've always made the best of hard times because I'm a optimist. But
and that sometimes is like because I'm an optimist too.
It's a superpower, really.
It's a superpower, but also a kryptonite. Can be kryptonite too.
I can't be. If you're really off base with your optimism, then it can be a kryptonite.
We'll get there, even though you see the numbers
I'm not really falling
backwards
off this cliff. It's okay. There's cushions at the bottom. But I wanted to, I don't know. It's made me appreciate what I have, and made me really appreciative of what my business has offered my family, what it's done for my community of employees, how many people it's touched. I mean, all of those things became really, really clear to me in the last couple of weeks, that no matter where my business is financially, it doesn't change the fact of what it has done, what it continues to do, and what I believe it will continue to do, which is provide me with what I need to live, and provide the people around me with comfort. And I don't want to be a billionaire. I don't want to be a multimillionaire. I don't. Those things don't interest me. Like
they're never
used to, maybe when I was really young. Right.
Or the idea of it, I guess, because I don't think people like us could do that because of how we run our business. And I think, again, when you talk about the vacuum cleaner sucking all the money, we never choose to suck the money. We choose to, enrich the people around us, whether it be our customers or our staff or our partners or whatever.
And there's not enough money in the restaurant industry.
No, and we're also in a business where you're chewing on a bone
at 2 or 3% profits. I mean, there's for every dollar
you're actually having to cook the bones in order to get the nutrients out of it, because there's nothing on top.
Absolutely. Yeah. So your bone broth,
bone broth, and the bone marrow.
It was a really nice opportunity for me to scale things back to something that I can control with much less effort and much less distraction. Like, having multiple stores is like multitasking. And there's no such thing as really good multitaskers, even though people say they're really good. I call bullshit on that. I mean, you can't.
There's a trade-off.
You can't do 5 things really, really well at all times because you're not focusing on all 5 things individually. So if you have one thing, you focus on that. You can make that whatever you want to make it. You can make it feel, act however you want, because you're putting your energy into it and you're getting back something out of it. And you can adjust while you're focusing on it. But if you have something over here that you also demands your attention, not all your focus is here, so things are going to slip. And I'm really excited about not letting anything slip anymore. And it reminded me about how to make more money in business. And I know that I just said it's not really about money, but you have to have enough of it to continue forward.
Yeah.
Not necessarily to grow huge, but enough to continue.
Yeah.
And it's always about like, do I want to make another dollar, or do I want to save and streamline $1 worth of expenses? And if you get one more dollar through your till in the restaurant industry, the owner might make 2 or 3 cents, or the business would make 2 or 3 cents of profit from that $1 that you worked really hard to get someone to buy something else.
Yeah.
But if you save $1 from your expenses, that entire $1, 100 pennies goes back in your pocket, or it doesn't leave your pocket.
Yeah, $1 saved is way bit more beneficial than $1 earned.
97% better.
Yeah. In our industry,
like literally, right? And so taking that kind of microscopic version of economics in our industry and translating that into how I want to operate my business, like not look for that many dollars on top, but look to control and streamline my bottom dollars. Like just makes it all makes more sense to me. And it feels more controllable, and I feel calmer about it.
Do you have the decision to, okay, I'm cutting this off? So in one aspect, you stop the bleeding, but also there's a dream in there too that gets shut off as well. Like like when you close cafes and or restaurants or whatever, then you're like, you have a lot of stuff that was tied into that, like mentally, physically.
Sure.
And this is one of the things that I have trouble with, is that it's kind of like that sunk dollar fallacy, like, oh, I've got this money invested, or I've got this, I've been invested all this time, blah, blah, blah. But if you think about where the outcome is inevitable, if you keep going down, because just like when we closed our Nanaimo store, the same thing. Like I was just like, I really wanted it to work, and it was a beautiful store, and but fundamentally it just wasn't going to work. But did I need to lose $200,000 or $300,000 to get there? And then when you're making that decision, you're like, oh my God, I'm literally crystallizing my losses now. And when you're in business, you're like, oh, if I just keep moving,
maybe my losses will be less.
Maybe you'll get a little back, or maybe something will change, and you'll just. It was kind of like hope is not a plan, like, and so when you go back to it, it's like, I should have just cut this off like 2 years ago. When there's a moment where you're just like, okay, this is not working, and how much more am I going to sink into it? And then, the decision, because I felt great after I made the decision, but I still mourn not doing it. Like I mourn the loss, but I also mourn what could have happened, or if I just stuck with. And there is no. I know, I'm convinced now that there is no outcome that could have made that work.
Right.
But there's nothing that could have changed that would have actually made it work. But I still think, oh, why did I make those decisions? And what I mean?
Well, but you made those, and we all made those decisions with the best of intentions for the betterment of your business, for the betterment of the people who work for it, for the community that you're going to want to be serving. And if things don't work out, it's better to cut your losses, I guess. But it's a matter of trying to figure out when that time is. Well, and you can't tell, because no one can see around the corner, and we have so many corners coming at us right now.
I know, and that's where the simplification of it, and getting back to basics, and trying to deploy the knowledge. Like, I'm so much smarter now as a result. And then, but I also have a new store in Courtenay that is struggling. So, like I think, now I've been down this road before. Mm-hmm. So what do I sink my heels in again? Or like, how much do I, and I'm committed to it. The cost base is, and again, the cost base is different. So the bleed out is slower. So I have a longer sort of window to see some progression, but it is still one of those things where I think, what should I be doing? Like what, and again, hope is not a plan, so, in putting a plan in place that can give you some indicators whether it's going to work or not. And then at some point you've got to decide to pull the chute or just accept the fact that you're going to be in there for a long time and just kind of ride it out and have all your other businesses just be more efficient. So
that they're paying for it.
Yeah, they're paying for it, but it's just like, and this is the other thing too, is like, when I'm doing this and my, when I talk about my wife, she's in healthcare and it's very black and white. And I'm doing all this gray stuff where it's sort of like, well, how does it make you feel? And I'm like, oh man, it feels really shitty. But I've kind of invested a lot in this and, my longer term plan, maybe I can, maybe I decide to sell Big Wheel or whatever. So that may just get all washed in there. But, what am I trying to do? And it's like, there's certain things like the juice may not be worth the squeeze in certain cases. Like why not, I have a poker thing where I, invest in this poker player and, I've made money doing it, but it's also cost me, what I mean? I have to still invest in that. And then I'm like, why do I need this distraction? Like I've got a lot of balls in the air.
Yeah.
So, but
is it something that makes you happy?
It is, but sure. It's one of those things in life. Like if I'm going and doing it as a hobby and all that kind of stuff is fine. But when you're making investments in something, then you're like, okay, well, what is the risk and reward and return and why are you doing it? I do it because I really like this guy and I'm helping him. And by me doing it, when he wins, he makes more money. And then I get benefit out of it because I have won with him as well. But it's probably not great for my marriage. And it's probably not great for my business because it is one more thing that I'm involved in. So in this current situation, like without getting into the weeds of what the deal is, there's a pile of money that if he does well and wins, I get back. So I invest and then he takes some off the top. I take some off the top, but there's just this pool of money that gets paid back when there's a big win. All the small wins get split, but so I have an investment. If I just walk away from the investment, I'm still up. But in order to get the investment back, I have to invest more, which is, it's kind of what you talk about, the conundrum of sunk cost. So I would look at probably needing another 100,000 for the next year of capital to roll in. And at the end of the day, I might get half of it back. I may get twice as much back. I might not get any of it back. So I will get some of it back, but it's causing me stress, and it's actually the opportunity cost that you get. And when you talk about closing your location, you now get to focus on your core business.
Yeah.
Right. Which then also simplifies your life. And if it's causing you other complications, like in distraction or time or whatever, then it's probably not worth it. But you still have to go through that process of mourning it, because even though I'm like, there's this little pocket of hope out there.
Yeah.
If I cut it off, I'm going to be probably broken even or maybe slightly ahead. But if I keep going down, I could end up being behind. And why am I doing it?
Yeah. I could see my museum cafe closing long before the strike.
Yeah.
I could see it. I knew it was probably the right thing to do, but in my brain, I was like, that is the wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, don't close. Yeah. Stick with it.
Yeah.
Go to it. Like, pull up your pants and just do it. Right. Your
grind
sleeves.
It out.
Wait.
Pull up your pants.
Like, what's going on? Maybe that was my problem. I had my pants around my ankles all the time. No one wants to come in for coffee from me.
Sam's always got his pants down.
What I meant, I think, was roll up your sleeves and pull down your pants.
Yeah. Well, put on your big boy pants.
Put on your big boy pants. Yeah. I was mixing my metaphors in a really uncomfortable way.
Awkward. There's little beads of sweat.
I'm sorry, everyone. I didn't mean my pants. But what I did mean was, like, my brain was fighting my heart on that for probably a few years, honestly. And thinking about your investment in your poker player, I mean, you're invested. You're emotionally invested. Your brain is probably saying, well, the risk reward there might be really good and it might keep you going. But if your heart's saying, well, this is causing me more problems than any amount of money that I already have invested is worth, then maybe that's your answer, is like going with your heart and figuring out then with your brain a really good way to change your situation in that. Right. Not just knee jerk reaction, because you're not in a position where you need to pull out right now. I was in a position where I took it down to the wire and I had to go.
Well, I think it's also, it allows you, by making that decision, it allows you to make other decisions which make your situation better too.
Yeah, which I couldn't make before. Absolutely.
Yeah. Once you rip that first Band-Aid, then all of a sudden now it's like, okay, I got rid of that distraction. So now what I need to do is really focus on this, which is actually probably going to be more rewarding. Plus, the downside is already mitigated.
It's already gone. The downside's gone. I don't have that anymore. I don't have it.
Plus, you probably feel better for having made the decision, because there's some pride in actually putting your big boy pants on
or off,
or pulling them down or pulling them up. Always pull them up first. In actually making that decision, because that empowers you and gives you confidence. Because it's kind of demoralizing to face, your weaknesses or your mistakes, and like
it could really feel like failure.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
If you let it feel like failure.
Well, and it is in some aspect failure, but also, if you look at it from the other side, it is a life experience and a lesson. And I mean, you learn way more from your mistakes than you do your successes, which I think is underappreciated in society, where you're like, hey, wait a minute, like this was tough, but I got through it. I navigated it. And, like sitting in and enjoying the experience of it, because that's how you actually get in touch with your emotions. Like, your sadness, your fear, your anxiety is also emotions that can then free up the other thing, which is your happiness, your, contentment and satisfaction.
Which are way more important emotions, but they're not as, it's hard to focus on joy and happiness when you have fear involved. If you have any kind of fear in your life, how do you find the happiness in your life? When it's also right there. But
it's all choices, right?
Fear is stronger in a lot of ways. Fear is not stronger in terms of overall emotions.
It's a pretty big motivator.
But I think it blinds us from making the right decisions.
Well, you get paralyzed because you're like, in analysis by paralysis, and being paralyzed by this stuff is not good. And, denying stuff or trying to look at the positive also is not good. If in your heart of heart, it isn't going to work. And I think if you look back at all those decisions leading up to it, but then also how long you waited, like probably in those situations when your heart knew that it wasn't going to work, you could have probably just pulled the pin, a year or so earlier, because the same inevitability happens. Like, you can't change outcomes.
Yeah, the outcome's the same.
Yeah, so you're experiencing it now, but you could have experienced the exact same thing a year earlier, but then saved, 20 or 30 grand or 40 grand or headaches or what have you, right? Yeah. And I think that's it, is like, and again, even when I look at mortality, we're all going to die. So if you die tomorrow, it's going to feel as bad as if you die 30 years from now. Because in the moment you're like alive, and then the next day you're not alive. But so it's,
I think the bad feelings are from the people you leave behind. I don't think you feel bad when you're dead.
No, when you're dead,
I think
it's
probably
bad.
pretty good.
Yeah. It's like, oh, thank goodness, relief. Get to sleep forever.
My big old dirt nap.
Yeah. But I guess it's a dark way to put the inevitable always comes. Like, you always got to pay the tax, death and taxes. Those are the two things that you can't get away from.
Since when did taxes become inevitable? Was it the Second World War? or the first?
Yeah, I think income tax. Yeah, after the Second World War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I personally feel like that because I've used that expression forever. Everything is flexible except for death and taxes. You can't avoid those. You can't avoid death, that's for sure. I think we can change our system, and I don't know,
live forever.
No, not pay taxes.
Yeah. Oh, no, pay tax,
or at least like we didn't pay them before. Like,
yeah, but we also didn't have community amenities and infrastructure, and I mean, there's stuff that is needed, which the collective nature of it is you can't avoid everybody contributing for roads and
I think there's an economic model out there. If I dig, maybe next week I'll come back with a good economic model.
Oh my God!
They'll just
I'll
lay it out. I'll get the whiteboard out. I'll start laying out all my big words.
Yeah, and then
I'll have
be
to
like, let's just have a kingdom, and we'll just decide what gets spent and what doesn't get spent. I'll control it, and yeah.
Well, if you look at a country like Dubai, say, right? Not only in terms of
where are we going? Like, we're almost wrapping up our podcast.
Okay,
and you're getting into
economically, Dubai provides a lot for its citizens. Not for everyone who lives there, but for its citizens. Let's make it clear.
But it depends on your perspective, because they also infringe on human rights of all of them.
I think I made it. I think I said despite their human rights. Okay, so take their human rights, because that's just a personal what they're doing with their power, right? But their economy is not as big as Canada's necessarily. We have a lot more resources.
You probably read the same article I read.
Probably. And they're not taxing their citizens, and they have all the amenities. They got free healthcare, they got education, they've got lunch programs, I'm sure. But do we? And we're being charged 40-50% of our income in taxes, plus all the other taxes that we pay. And we're not getting nearly the return on our investment as taxpayers as other countries. And maybe Dubai is a terrible example.
It's a horrible example, because they also still have technically slave labor, because there's people working in that community that don't get any benefits of any of it.
They're citizens.
I mean, they're citizens too, I'm assuming.
No, I think they hold their passports when they're just slave workers, don't they?
I know, but it's just like, it's probably it's an interesting example of maximum control over the purse and deciding who gets the money, who doesn't get the money. So they decide who the citizens are. They decide the class of people that get the money, and then everybody else is like, screw it. And inevitably, money's made on the backs of people, right? So you cannot be, the reason why the U.S. is so well-to-do today. Well, it's not as well-to-do. It's actually technically not well-to-do at all, but it was on the backs of slave labor. That's how they built their economy. That's how they did. And other countries throughout history have done the same thing too. And we, as colonizers of Canada, benefited by just stealing land, I guess,
and resources
or whatever. Absolutely. And the reward goes to the victor or whatever, all that kind of stuff. But the idea that we're entitled to the stuff, like, we basically stole the stuff.
Yeah.
So now, how do you create fairness for the people that are here? You can't go back and change the history, but how do you just do better for your society? And part of it is lifting people up. The tide lifts all boats, and nobody can convince me of that, of any different way to work. And it's about creating wealth for the people at the socioeconomic bottom, which then builds everybody up. And instead of being up here and controlling all the money and the power and blah, 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 and trickle down, it's like, come on, man.
It feels like our current form of government is more of an anchor to all those boats.
Yeah, I think there's aspects of it that are good. And I think in Canada, we are luckier than other, because we have the social safety net that we've got, and protecting that, to me, is foremost. And I think we should be doubling down and investing more in it in the aspect of, like food security and housing and healthcare and all of that, because that also attracts, and the outcome of it you're going to have a smarter, healthier, better educated population. And we're very highly educated when you compare us to other countries. We're very well read. And part of that investment is baked in, but if you don't keep supporting it, you'll lose it. And then all of a sudden the outcomes become worse. Like, we are navigating better than most now because of what we've invested before. But if you stop that investment, like, the US is shutting down their education board, right? Like, and burning books and like, what are you doing? And then even the immigration standpoint is you're sharing information and wealth and attracting other people to your society that can make it better is better for everybody. So yeah, I think thinking deeper is better. And I think we are fortunate to be where we are, but you got to fight for it. You still have to defend it, but you also have to do course corrections along the way when there is unfairness and all that as well. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that was a broad conversation coming from a closure of one little tiny coffee shop, which I'd like to just say that I have no hard. I think there's a lot of people who think I'm not for the picketers. It's like, no. I believe in their right to do it. Yeah. It's unfortunate how it influenced me personally, but I mean, I still have a lot of heart for what they're doing out there, and I hope they keep warm and dry. Yeah. And I hope they go back to work.
Yeah, I hope they go back to work.
And I hope the government
they don't want to be there too.
No, they don't. I mean?
So
no kidding.
Let's just peace, love, man. Peace, love, and joy.
Peace, love, and happiness, man.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, Calen. You have a wonderful rest of your day.
You be real nice.
I will. You be nice too.
Be kind.
Be kind. That almost worked. Man.
It almost worked.
Beautiful.
And we'll be back with guests next week. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you.
Love you.
Bye. Bye.
Bread and Butter Collective's membership includes the following local businesses: 2% Jazz, Bunny's Kitchen, Buzz Coffee House, Eagle-Ite, Big Wheel Burger, Blue Mountain Solutions, Bodega Tapas Wine Bar, Eva Schnitzel House, Farmsgate Foods and Catering, Victoria Chocolate and Company, Drum Roaster Coffee, Habit Coffee, Foo Asian Street Food, the Culinary Arts Program at Camosun, Cafe Fantastico, Fall Epi, Harold Street Brewworks, Hey Happy, House of Botang, Nikkei Ramen Ya, Jenny Marie's Cracker Company, La Pasta, La Rue Patisserie, Mocha House, Part and Parcel, Poco a Pinto Bar, Pizzeria Prima Strada, Keating Pizza, Roast, Table 9 Consulting, Sherwood Cafe and Bar, Sweets by Selena, The Collective Wine Bar and Kitchen, The Drake, Tapa Bar, The Nimble Bar Company, Ruth and Dean, The Whole Beast, The Wienery, Spoon's Diner, Truffles-Inspired Catering, and Zambries.
To hear more from the Bread and Butter Collective, go to checknews.ca/podcasts on Check Plus, or find us on your favorite podcasting platform.